Damn, I have really bad handwriting. What up, it's Girl K. Dot, and today we're talking about a short little book called Crime and Punishment. Because it's short. Not long at all. Not long at all. And it didn't take me long at all to make this video because I didn't have to reread the book, because I didn't forget any of the key characteristics, because I remember everything. Because everything I remember is everything I remember, and I remember everything. Let's get started. Crime and Punishment, written by Fyodor... Disclaimer, I can't pronounce Russian names, so we're gonna have a real fun time today. Dostoevsky. I'm sorry. Crime and Punishment was written by Dostoevsky. I'm just gonna say D-Man from now on. D-Man was born in 1821, has many famous books including The Idiot, The Brothers Karamazov, and of course Crime and Punishment. Like all great authors of his time, and all times I'm pretty sure, had a pretty rough childhood growing up. First epileptic seizure at age 9. In 1849 he was arrested for his participation in the Pension Circle, which from my research is basically a collective of people who wrote really interesting books that were probably going to get censored by the government. And I'm doing a really bad job of this, and I realize that, and I apologize. After first being sentenced to death, he was later sentenced to 4 years in exile of hard labor in Siberia. That is gonna come into play later, so just remember it. Just remember it. Art imitates life. Working in this prison, mentally, physically altered Dostoevsky, and his whole childhood just made him a certain kind of character that would write a certain kind of book like Crime and Punishment, which was written in 1864. Fun fact, this is what my English professor said freshman year, so I'm gonna regurgitate it to you as if it were first-hand knowledge. Crime and Punishment was originally called Transgression and Retribution, and some people say that's the better title than Crime and Punishment. Open up the book and we are 1860s St. Petersburg, Russia. We meet the main character of our story, or one of the main characters, who is an objectively good-looking, objectively poor student, ex-student named Raskolnikov. Did I say that right? Raskolnikov is taking a nice leisurely stroll down the streets of St. Petersburg, and he is in a bit of a crisis. Why? We don't quite know yet. Because this is a summary, and because we're going to keep this probably under 15 minutes, I'm just going to go ahead and cut to the chase. He's going to go kill someone. Should I have put spoiler alert? Let me try again. Spoiler alert, he's going to go kill someone. There is a pawnbroker in town who is mean and old and ugly and mean and stingy and mean. Raskolnikov is, or has been, planning to kill this woman for a while, for multiple reasons. One, he's poor, and he knows this stingy old mean has the money. In his conscience, he rationalizes that this person has been terrorizing St. Petersburg because everyone who's anyone has gone to her to pawn their things and always been shortchanged. So in his sense of justice, this is him evening the scales. And it's important to note that Raskolnikov has a weird sense of justice from the get-go. He justifies the way that he acts based on how the universe has placed him in certain positions to just do things. So sometimes he's his own agent, sometimes he's just a tool of the universe. Leading up to the events in which he murders this woman, he vacillates back and forth. Sometimes he is the noble victor who is freeing all these poor citizens who are slaves to this pawnbroker woman, and other times it's just the universe urging him to do his destiny? I'm not sure. Not 100%. Not 100% on that. Raskolnikov goes to the pawnbroker and is contemplating what it would be like to kill her as he is pawning off his father's watch. And he has a bit of a panic attack and kind of storms out the building, realizes he can't do this, and stops at a pub to drink. While at this bar, Raskolnikov runs into a guy named Marmeladov, which is funny kind of because in Russian apparently that means marmalade. And this man is really down on his luck, even poorer than Raskolnikov. And Raskolnikov helps him home, and this is where he sees his family, and this is where we see the B subplot of the entire book. There are C and D subplots of this book that I'm not going to talk about because I just can't. The B plot is that this family is incredibly poor. There are, I think, 4 children, maybe 3 children. The eldest daughter is named Sonia. At this point, they run into such hard luck that Sonia eventually goes into prostitution in order to support her family. Obviously, this is a key point in the book because it showcases a woman who has to make these sacrifices for her family. And because of the sacrifices she's made, society regards her as an immoral character. Everyone in this book has their vices. Mr. Marmalade is a drunk. Sonia is a prostitute, which isn't really a sin, but you know, this is an 1816 book. Raskolnikov is a murderer. Finally, Raskolnikov has decided that he's just not going to kill this woman. He doesn't have it in him and he just can't do it. But this isn't called almost Crime and Punishment, it's called Crime and Punishment. One day he's in the street and he sees the pawnbroker's sister, who is a mentally ill woman who's incredibly nice, but everyone takes advantage of her because of her illness. And she's talking in the street and says that she won't be home that evening. And Raskolnikov sees this as the perfect opportunity, because if the sister's not home, then it's just the pawnbroker, so he can just kill the pawnbroker and just get it over with. Once again, he says the universe has put him in the position to carry out this act. Raskolnikov borrows an axe from someone and goes into this woman's house and essentially hacks her into bits. And it's not at all gruesome. It's just him repeatedly swinging his axe onto this woman, brain, guts, every blood, blood, blood. Here's the problem though. You would think someone who's trying to murder someone else would lock the door, question mark, maybe, question mark. I don't know Raskolnikov, but he doesn't. The sister comes home early. And so now Raskolnikov has a decision. He is looking at this woman who has done nothing wrong in her life. She's innocent. Pawnbroker maybe wasn't, but this sister is. And he decides to hack her to bits too. Hack, 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 chop, 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 knife, 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 to the brain. Gosh, there's so much in this book. I'm like on the 3rd page. Raskolnikov goes through the stuff. There's riches everywhere. Literally probably $1.5 million in that room. And he only takes some of it. And he stuffs it in all his pockets and he tries to escape, nearly gets caught, but makes it home, falls asleep. Wakes up the next day in a fervor. He's not 100% sure if he actually killed this woman until he sees blood literally all over his body. And so he goes into a bit of a panic. And that basically takes us through the entire book. Raskolnikov gets incredibly ill. He has a friend, Razumikin, who comes and helps him. His family comes and sees him at a certain time. There is a cop officer who obviously is investigating this murder, and Raskolnikov and this cop's interactions are pretty interesting in the entirety of this book. The first time they meet, Raskolnikov all out confesses the murder, and then he says, nah, I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding, like, if I were to kill somebody, that's probably what I would do.
Yeah, but you ain't got none.
I'm very glad that you said that. Because respectfully, I beg to differ.
'Cause I'm a criminal! Criminal! You goddamn right. I'm a criminal! That don't mean nothing. I got a vivid imagination.
But then Raskolnikov teeters between like this overconfidence in his act and this just dreadful fear that he's going to get caught. Considering the fact that the book is called Crime and Punishment, we wonder, is this the internal torture this man is going through, the punishment for his crime? Back to the B subplot. At this point of the book, Mr. Marmalade has died pretty early, actually. He got hit by a horse. Sonia has been kicked out of the home for her prostitution. But the rest of the family is in the street begging for money. Obviously, no one is giving it, and they get sick and most of them die. Sonia has caught up in some of her own dramas. I can find a summary for that, but the main point is that she and Raskolnikov have been interacting throughout this entire book. And maybe I'm reading into this incorrectly. Raskolnikov comes to her whenever he feels like it, just drops in whenever he wants. I guess he just wants to do that. And sometimes he comes and sees her as this, holy figure. And other times he comes and treats her like crap. And the question is, why? The question is maybe because this was written in the 19th century? Maybe this is because it's supposed to be 1860 Russia? I don't know. Maybe because Raskolnikov is a psychopathic murderer? Eventually, Raskolnikov comes clean to Sonia and tells her what he has done. And Sonia, who is a woman of incredible moral standing, and her only crime in this entire book is that she resorted to prostitution to support her family, tells him that he must give himself to God. He has to go turn himself in. Raskolnikov is like, hell no, I'm not going to do that. But eventually he does. He goes to the police officer, walks in and says, guys, look, it was me. Bum, bum, bum. I'm pretty sure that's how that went down. They go through the trial. It happens pretty quickly, and Raskolnikov is sentenced to 8 years in, dun dun dun, Siberia. Remember that from the beginning? Yeah, art imitates life. Here's the interesting part. This section of the book is towards the end, wrapping up, and I had no idea how this was going to end when I originally read it, but guess what? It didn't end how I thought it was going to. Moral of the story, read all books. Raskolnikov is serving his sentence in prison and not enjoying himself, thinking about the entire world and how it's such a fallacy and that our systems of moral judgment are, incredibly flawed, and how can we really say that someone is good, someone is bad. The whole time Sonia is there, supporting Raskolnikov from the outside of the prison, bringing him bread, he doesn't want bread, bringing him clothes, he doesn't want clothes. And he hates on her so much, and she's just there supporting him. She doesn't even have to be in Siberia. Who wants to be in Siberia? Apologies to people who live in Siberia. That's my bad. I'm getting out of hand. Finally, one day Raskolnikov is looking at Sonia and how she interacts with the other prison inmates. And the prison inmates in this prison treat her amazingly well. She's a saint. She's a wonderful person. And he's instantly jealous. Everyone hates Raskolnikov, and this is important. Raskolnikov is an atheist from the get-go. Because of this, the other inmates want to kill him. Finally, at one point, this whole system of him hating on Sonia, him not believing God, he having this weird sense of amoralism, drives Raskolnikov incredibly sick. Just like at the beginning when he first killed the pawnbroker. He has to go to the hospital. When he finally gets out of the hospital, he sees Sonia at a riverbank and walks up to her and sits down, and they have a conversation. I don't know what it's about because it doesn't matter. Here's what happens. Out of the blue, if you ask me, Raskolnikov falls on his knees, overcome with love for Sonia. He looks at her, he's like, oh my god, I realize why I've been treating you like shit for the past entire of this book. I love you. And Sonia's like, oh, I love you too. Right. And now that these two have fallen in love with each other, Raskolnikov goes back to prison. He still has 7 years to fulfill, but he knows now that he will live a life with Sonia and it will be blessed and will be moral, and that's the end of his punishment. Yeah. So I hope this helped, and if it didn't, I sort of maybe apologize. I don't know. I don't know why you watched it to the very end if it wasn't helping you. Maybe that's something you should think about. Crime and Punishment. Dostoevsky. Deuces.